Alex, a quiet traveler, was enjoying a peaceful vacation in Norway. The serene landscape was suddenly disrupted when he noticed strange ripples in the water. Guests on the hotel deck froze as massive circles appeared on the lake's surface, and a distant scream shattered the calm. Phones emerged to record the scene, but Alex sensed something much more sinister was unfolding. The circles in the water grew larger, creating an eerie stillness among the hotel guests. People whispered nervously, some recording the strange sight while others anxiously searched for answers. Then a second scream broke the tension, louder and more desperate than before. Alex turned sharply toward the sound, spotting faint movement across the lake. Squinting, he realized there were two figures, children on the opposite shore, and they appeared to be in trouble. His heart raced as he tried to figure out what was happening. Were they hurt? Was someone else in danger? Alex didn't wait to find out. He rushed toward the hotel, shouting for the owner. "How can I get to the other side of the lake?" he asked urgently. The hotel owner, startled but calm, suggested using an old boat stored in a nearby shed. Alex wasted no time. Gathering a few guests to help, they worked to drag the heavy boat to the water's edge. But as he tried to start the engine, nothing happened. Panic rose when he discovered the boat was out of fuel. Alex raced back to the hotel, determined to find a solution, knowing every second wasted could mean the difference between life and death. Earlier that morning, Daniel, a 42-year-old father, decided to take his two kids, Emma and Jake, on a hike near the scenic lake. Nature walks were their favorite activity. Daniel loved teaching them about the wilderness, while the kids, full of curiosity, enjoyed exploring everything. Everything seemed perfect until it wasn't. After an hour of hiking, Daniel paused to check his oversized map, trying to ensure they were on the right path. Meanwhile, Emma and Jake spotted a narrow, winding trail leading toward the water. Without waiting or warning their father, they decided to explore it on their own, holding hands as they carefully descended the steep path. But the trail was slippery, and disaster struck. Emma lost her balance, pulling Jake down with her. They tumbled down the slope, screaming as they went. When Daniel heard their cries, panic overtook him. He dropped the map and sprinted toward the sound, slipping and falling at the same spot as his children. The three of them now clung to the ledge, the dark water just a few feet below. As they steadied themselves, Jake suddenly gasped and pointed toward the lake. His face turned pale as he whispered, "Daddy, there's something in the water." Daniel looked down and his heart sank. A massive shape moved just below the surface, creating ripples that grew into the same mysterious circles Alex had seen. Whatever was in the water, it wasn't just a shadow. It was alive. Alex's mind raced as he realized the urgency of the situation. With the hotel owner's help, he found the old boat tucked away in a dusty shed, but the vessel wasn't ready for use. It was heavy, the motor wasn't attached, and they had to drag it to the water. Without hesitation, Alex called out for help. Several hotel guests rushed to assist, and together they managed to haul the boat to the edge of the lake. Once in the water, Alex quickly secured the motor. His hands trembling with urgency, he yanked the starter, but the engine didn't roar to life. Frustration mounted as he tried again and again. Finally, he unscrewed the fuel cap and discovered the problem. There was no gas. A wave of panic swept over him, but he refused to give up. Thinking quickly, Alex sprinted back to the hotel. "Do you have a gas can?" he asked the owner. The elderly man shook his head, but handed Alex a long tube and a bucket. "You'll have to siphon it from your car," he said. Without wasting another second, Alex ran to his vehicle and began the tedious process of extracting fuel. Every moment felt like an eternity, but at last the tank was full. Alex returned to the boat, started the engine, and took off toward the opposite shore. As he sped across the water, his thoughts were consumed by one question. Would he reach the children in time? The small boat cut through the water as Alex pushed the engine to its limit. He could see Daniel and the two children clinging to the ledge, their faces pale with fear. Alex shouted, "Are you all okay?" Daniel, trying to stay calm, yelled back, "We need help! We can't climb up, and there's something in the water." Alex glanced around nervously. He hadn't noticed anything strange at first, but as the boat drew closer, he saw it, a massive shadow moving beneath the surface. His grip on the boat tightened. Daniel turned to his children and whispered, "When I say jump, hold on to me and don't let go." Emma and Jake nodded. their eyes wide with terror. Timing his move carefully, Daniel waited until the shadow drifted farther away. Then with one swift motion, he tossed his bag into the boat, scooped up Emma and Jake, and leaped into the water. They swam as fast as they could, splashing wildly. Alex reached out, pulling them aboard one by one. Relief swept over them as they caught their breath, but it didn't last long. Suddenly, the boat jolted violently, lifting slightly out of the water. Everyone screamed as Alex's dog barked furiously. Alex leaned over the side and froze. Staring back at him from the water was the enormous eye of a whale. The creature had accidentally struck the boat's propeller, leaving a deep gash on its head. Alex tried to restart the engine, but it sputtered and died. The boat was damaged, and they were stranded in the middle of the lake. Daniel held his children close as the whale swam nearby, its wounded head breaking the surface. Alex knew they needed to get back, but something about the whale's slow, pained movements made him hesitate. Alex couldn't take his eyes off the whale as it swam sluggishly around the boat, its wound now clearly visible, leaving a trail of red in the water. Daniel broke the silence, his voice trembling. "That whale won't survive like this. It's too far from the sea." Alex nodded, realizing the urgency of the situation. They couldn't just leave the creature to suffer. As soon as they reached the shore, Alex and Daniel started brainstorming. They needed experts and a solid plan. Daniel called friends who had boats and experience with wildlife, while Alex contacted a nearby marine rescue organization. "The whale needs medical care first," Daniel said. "Then we have to find a safe way to guide it back to the ocean." Every minute felt critical, but Alex felt a glimmer of hope. They weren't just rescuing the whale, they were giving it a second chance at life. The next morning, rescue teams and marine specialists arrived at the lake, ready to help the injured whale. Alex and Daniel led them to the creature, which surprisingly stayed calm as the team approached. The specialists quickly assessed its condition and administered antibiotics to prevent infection. They cleaned the wound and ensured the whale was stable. Over the next week, Alex stayed near the lake, watching the whale closely. With proper care, the whale grew stronger each day. The rescue team agreed it was almost ready to return to the sea, but the journey wouldn't be easy. Time was running out. A week later, the team gathered to guide the whale back to the sea. Boats with reinforced propellers surrounded the creature to ensure its safety. Alex, who had stayed by the lake every day, felt both nervous and hopeful as the journey began. The whale followed their lead, gliding gracefully through the water. Daniel and his children watched in awe, cheering when the open sea came into view. With one final leap, the whale disappeared into the waves. Relief and joy filled the air as Alex realized they had not only saved a life, but witnessed something truly extraordinary.